in the UK, where we have a multi-party democracy. In 1951, Labour and the Tories got 97% of the vote between them. In 2010, they couldn't even muster two-thirds. And the result of the last election was basically decided by fewer than 500,000 votes in a handful of constituencies that, by mathematical accident, happened to be marginal. That's out of nearly 40 million eligible voters. That means that only 1 in every 80 voters actually mattered last year. That is a disgrace. And almost every vote cast at the last election, therefore, didn't really count. But the Fairer Votes referendum offers us the chance for change, and we must grasp it. Over the last 2 years, we have had a political crisis. The reputation of MPs has been tarnished. 1/3 of the population didn't even vote. They didn't vote because they knew it wouldn't change things. Their MP would get back in and nothing would change. Their life would carry on, their MP would continue to sit in Westminster and continue to pay scant attention to their concerns, oblivious to life in the real world. We looked on in horror at the expenses scandal, taxpayers funding MPs' duck houses, mow cleaning and bell tower restoration. And don't let anyone tell you that that was due to the expenses system. No system of expenses forces anybody to go on the fiddle. The expenses scandal grew instead out of an outrageous culture of complacency, arising from an electoral system that gives MPs safe seats for life. No incentive to earn the support of their constituents, and every incentive to go native and stay completely out of touch with normal people. We should be angry about this, and we should seize our chance to change it with both hands and seize it now. It seems today that parties only seem to care about swing seats, the few constituencies that could change hands and change the outcome of a general election. In my constituency, Westmoreland and Lonsdale, the turnout was a massive 77% of the vote. Now, I'm not going to claim complete credit for this, but at the last election I was defending a majority of 267. And so the parties and the media paid particular attention, and local residents knew that their vote could make a difference. My job is to continue to behave as though I did have a time majority. It would be an insult to my communities if I were to take my foot off the gas now. I won by 12,000 last May, but though I say so myself, I had to earn it. And I couldn't live with myself if I didn't continue in that vein. But sadly, Westmoreland is just one of the few seats at the last election where your vote really could make a difference. I want everyone to feel that vote in Westmoreland. Everybody deserves that. But it's not about me. It is not about Nick Clegg. It's not about Ed Miliband or David Cameron nor any politician. This is a campaign about empowering the British people. I want to tell you a little story. When I got elected to Parliament first time round in May 2005, those of you who've ever been around the House of Commons will know it's pretty hard to find your way about. It's like going to university in New York. And I decided, after a couple of weeks of struggling to find where anything was, I thought I had a cunning plan, and that was to join a school trip from the Dean Gibson Primary School in my constituency. We're in year sixes, and I followed them around the House of Commons, and we ended up eventually in the House of Lords lobby. There the guide was telling them all about the architecture, and having an attention span slightly less than the average 10-year-old, I drifted off a little bit. Drifted off because I was distracted by a person coming centre-left, shuffling through the House of Lords lobby. That person was Geoffrey Howe. I thought, oh, slightly stage-struck, starstruck. This is the guy who was Chancellor of the Exchequer when I was at school, I thought. And this girl at the back of the group of children in front of me noticed I was distracted and noticed who I was looking at. And she said, who's he? And I said, he's Geoffrey Howe. He brought down Margaret Thatcher. And she said, who's Margaret Thatcher? Which tells me a few things. First of all, it tells me who is Justin. And this campaign is about making sure that we leave a legacy of fairer votes and a better democracy that will outlive the memory of any of us here. So now, we have a chance to change things. We have a momentous opportunity ahead of us on May the 5th, the Fairer Votes referendum. Electoral reform is finally within our grasp for the first time in our lifetime. Voting yes on May the 5th will send a message to Westminster that things need to change, that it is not business as usual, that politics can and will change for the better. I don't know if you've been following the antics of the No campaign, but the old Westminster establishment will say anything to keep business as usual. Now, for the last half-century, those who oppose electoral reform have used three key arguments. That electoral reform leads to hung parliaments, that hung parliaments create chaos, and that coalition governments are unstable. But what can they say now? I mean, first past the post has created a hung parliament. darn sight more stable than the last single party one that we had. So the no campaign are left naked, desperate to clothe themselves in any old rubbish. No good arguments against AV, and just make something up. Any old nonsense, Murdoch or printing. How about this talk about new counting machines to run AV that will allegedly cost a fortune? Well, can I tell you that we are going to use a very complicated machine indeed. It's you and a pencil. Very complicated, but extremely cheap. No offense. And if the no camp are determined that we should have machines, surely with their eye for thrift, they'd want to buy a bargain. You know, a tried and tested counting machine from Florida. One careful owner, Jeb Bush, worked the force of reaction before it could help them again. So no wonder, in complete panic, the Conservative Party has taken over the No campaign, loading it with its spin doctors and loading it with its cash. And I have to ask, John Prescott, David Blunkett, Margaret Beckett, how do you feel about taking orders from a bunch of Tory spin doctors who spent their lives trying to annihilate you? And if you are Labour, here, if you're a Labour voter, how do you feel knowing that if you vote no, you are voting Tory? Well, Westminster needs shaking up out of its complacency. A candidate applying for a job has to persuade the majority of the panel that they are the best person, not just one of the three interviewers. AV means that MPs will have to persuade the majority of voters they are the best person, just like the rest of us applying for a normal job. And it's easy as 1, 2, 3. The only change for the voter is instead of having to mark an X, you can choose candidates in order. 1, 2, 3. It makes me suspicious that the No campaign seem to think that it's good enough to use in electing a Tory party leader, but not good enough for the rest of us to choose our MPs. You see, AV is a small change that will make a big, big difference. If you think it's time that politicians listen to you, that they were forced to take notice, that they weren't mollycoddled by an electoral system that keeps them safe from you and safe from defeat, then voting yes to fairer votes is your chance to make that happen. Voting yes in May is not like voting in any other election. Voting yes in May will be the most positive and the most important vote you will ever cast. We have the chance to have fairer votes for everyone in Britain for the first time in our lifetimes. But if we lose for the last time in our lifetimes. And we face an opposition just as determined as that which fought against votes for women in the 1920s. You see, every generation has their harumphing majors, desperate to prevent progress. We mustn't give women the vote, it will lead to disaster, you can't trust them, you know. The harumphing majors of 2011 are in the No camp. You know, they are reactionary, ridiculous, but very well resourced. Funded by the Tories, backed by the BNP, encouraged by the establishment. On the yes side, we're building a progressive alliance. The Lib Dems, Labour, Green, Plaid Cymru, SNP, even UKIP, although I wouldn't call them progressives, that's not a broad change. But earlier this week, Labour kicked off their part of the Yes to AV campaign. As party president, I want to welcome Ed Miliband to the campaign. He has shown real vision to take the lead in his party and to fight for fairer votes and to become part of a campaign that extends well beyond politics. A campaign that is about reducing the power and privileges of politicians and putting that power in the hands of the people. Ed Miliband rightly said that AV will restore the balance of power in favour of voters. So we've got the Labour leadership, the Lib Dems, the Greens, 38 Degrees, the SNP, Plaid Cymru, Joanna Lumley, Honor Blackman, Stephen Fry, Eleanor Bonham Carter, and on the no side, you've got Norman Tebbit, Nick Griffin, David Cameron, John Reid. Don't know about you, but I am not turning into that particular episode of Celebrity Come Down With Me. With the dishes cooked up in the back of Margaret Beckett's camera. Seriously, if you are fed up with the way Britain is run, if you think politicians take too little notice of you, if you think your MP should actually have to work hard to earn your vote, if you want your vote to count, and if you reckon that counting to 3 is something you can just about manage, then vote yes. You have nothing to lose, but the establishment has everything to lose. A no vote on May the 5th means the establishment rubbing its hands with glee on May the 6th. No need to change. No need to listen. Business as usual. All the more reason to leave our anti-democratic voting system behind and choose to give yourself the power to choose. Stop allowing politicians to protect themselves from you through their safe seats. The British people deserve better on May the 5th, and on May the 5th they can get what they deserve. Yes to less power from politicians. Yes to more power for voters. Vote yes with fairer votes on May the 5th. Thank you. We have a glittering array of stars before us now, even greater than the AV A-list that I was mentioning before. And we start off with my very good friend and the cream of Manchester, Mr. John Leach, MP.